All right, welcome back. Today, we're going to tackle a pretty mind-bending idea. It's one that asks a huge question. What if the end of the world isn't really an accident at all, but more like a final exam? Let's get into it.
So I want you to just think about this for a second. Forget everything you know about random asteroids or, some cosmic bad luck. What if every single potential apocalypse was actually a test, a pass or fail exam for all of humanity? And that right there, that's the core of this whole thought experiment we're diving into. It completely reframes natural disasters, so they're not just random, tragic events anymore. Nope, they're cosmic hurdles. It's almost as if they were intentionally put there, right in the path of any species that gets smart enough. So what we're talking about here is an idea that takes futurology, the science of the future, and just mashes it together with the terrifying reality of catastrophes. The basic idea? The universe might have a built-in curriculum, and graduation, that means survival. See, this whole thing is really a collision of two super powerful ideas. On one hand, you've got the Kardashev scale. You've probably heard of it. It's that way we measure how advanced a civilization is based on how much energy it can control. Then, on the other hand, you have the raw, just untamable power of nature, cosmic catastrophes. This theory basically takes those two and merges them into something totally new. Okay, so to really get our heads around this new scale of catastrophes, we first have to talk about something else. It's a critical and, honestly, kind of chilling theory that tries to answer that big question. Why does it seem like we're all alone out here in the universe? And that would be the great filter theory. The idea is pretty simple, but it's huge. It suggests that, maybe simple life is common out there. But somewhere between pond scum and a galaxy-spanning civilization, there's a barrier, a wall, a filter that is just incredibly difficult for any life to get past. And the really terrifying question is, right? Have we already passed it? Or is the hardest part still ahead of us? And this is where we get to the Kardashev catastrophe scale. It basically says, hey, maybe the great filter isn't just one single event. What if it's a series of tests that get harder and harder? You start with planetary scale challenges like, supervolcanoes. Then you move up to stellar threats like a nearby supernova. And it goes all the way up to these cosmic, universal level threats. So for today, let's just look at the two ends of this incredible scale, the beginning and the very, very end. All right, let's start at the beginning, level 1. What's the very first major test that a young civilization, a lot like ours, is probably going to face? Well, according to this framework, a Type 1 catastrophe is something that happens on a planetary scale. A perfect example? Think about a supervolcano erupting. We're talking about an event that has enough power to completely change the climate of the entire globe. And look, this isn't just a big eruption, okay? A supervolcano would pump so much ash and sulfuric acid into the atmosphere that it would literally block out the sun. This triggers what's called a volcanic winter, and global temperatures would just plummet. So, here's the key. To survive something like that, you'd need global cooperation and technology way beyond anything we have today. That's the test. Okay, so you get the idea. We've got these planetary tests like supervolcanoes. The scale moves on up through stuff like, say, stopping a giant asteroid or surviving a star exploding nearby. But let's just skip all that for a minute and jump all the way to the end. What is the final, ultimate, last-level test on this crazy scale? Well, welcome to what you might call the final boss of existence. This is the last challenge. The one for a civilization that has somehow beaten every single other threat the universe to throw at it. And that challenge? It's entropy. Now, this is a fundamental law of physics, but let's break it down. It's basically the unstoppable tendency of the universe to move from a state of order to total disorder. Eventually, all the energy gets spread out completely evenly, and nothing interesting can ever happen again. It's a concept that's often called the heat death of the universe. So a Type 7 test is pretty straightforward, but insane to think about. The question is, can your civilization, which is now so advanced we can't even imagine it, find a way to escape or, maybe even reverse the heat death of the universe itself? Can you actually survive the end of everything? It is the most profound challenge you can possibly imagine. Okay, let's pull back for a second and connect all these dots. We've seen the very first test and the absolute final one. So what's the big picture here? What does all this mean? And this right here is the core idea.
all those catastrophes, the supervolcanoes, the killer asteroids, the dying stars, even the end of the universe, they aren't just random bits of bad luck. In this way of thinking, they are the great filter. It's just scaled. It's broken down into a series of predictable, increasingly difficult stages. So what this means is that progress isn't just about building cooler gadgets because we can. No, in this view, it's a desperate race against the clock. Real advancement is measured by one thing: your ability to solve the next existential threat on that list. Survival isn't about luck. It's about competence. And of course, that brings it all right back home to us, right now. When you look at this scale, from these planetary disasters all the way to the cosmic ones, it forces you to ask a pretty humbling question, doesn't it? Where are we on this list? What's the next great test for humanity? And maybe more importantly, are we even studying for it?